March 1961 finds the Spencer Works well into its second year. So let's take advantage of exceptional spring weather and make a progress report. With a site that stretches along 3 miles, there's only one way to view it, and that's from a helicopter. Up and away on an aerial grand tour that will take us from one end of the works to the other. We're traveling from west to east, first looking at the office blocks on the left, and then at the rail sidings where trains will deliver stocks of ore and coal. The production process, from ore to steel sheet, will flow in the direction in which we're traveling. Now the tracks of the boom cranes are becoming apparent. Further on, the coal handling plant progresses. That long covered building conceals the 4 batteries of coke ovens, with the square coal storage bunker in the middle left. Here's the sinter plant, and soon we're flying over the old Monk's Ditch, now diverted into a straight, clean concrete bed. Passing by the twin cooling towers, which rise head and shoulders above everything else, we come to the heart of any steelworks, the blast furnaces. The first one is well advanced. The second is still an infant. From the blast furnaces, iron will flow into the adjacent steelworks, now beginning to take shape. The white patch in the middle distance is the first cladding on the enormous hot mill building. Over the whole site, infilling and piling are nearly finished. Foundations are firm. From now on, it's a matter of setting the body on its legs. And astonishingly, we're still following the length of the hot mill. In time to come, the steel strip from the hot mill will go to the pickling bay, and then for the rolling and finishing to the cold mill, which adds its length to the seemingly endless production line. Everywhere over the site, there are huge deposits of raw materials: sand, cement, and steel. At last we come to the eastern extremity of construction, bounded by the perimeter roads. Then it's the green countryside of Monmouthshire, and over the London Newport railway link. Well, that's the Spencer Works from a distance. Let's have a closer look at some of the details. All day long, the feeder roads and railways are choked with heavy traffic. The construction of a plant covering many hundreds of acres and employing thousands consumes an enormous amount of material every hour of every day. Everywhere, men at work. Despite the latest machinery, the manual laborer still has a part to play. Railways are an essential means for bringing in heavy and bulky material, so rails are laid, 25 out of an ultimate 40 miles of them. Now we're flying over the beginnings of a coke stockpile. Coke is being collected and stored already, awaiting the future demand, rather like priming a pump. And here's another kind of pump priming with men. When the steelworks is operating, there'll be a pressing need for highly skilled manpower. It takes a long time to build up a team of specialists, and so among the first things to be built on the site were lecture rooms and workshops. At this very moment, they're filled with young apprentices, training for the day when the works will be completed. When they move in, each man will have to know his job. Already, nearly all the offices are fully staffed. Providing meals could be a problem, but for pleasantly designed dining rooms and canteens like this, which are already in service. Anyone would be glad to meet and eat in such surroundings. On these grounds alone, the Spencer Works would be a popular place in which to work. At full production, the works will consume millions of gallons of water every day, and the reservoir in the Dimple on Waltwood Hill is already taking on firm and definite proportions. This artificial lake will be large enough for yacht racing. Tons of concrete are being mixed and poured to form the walls of this reservoir. 2 walls of the reservoir are nearing completion, while work is proceeding on the 3rd. Originally, the whole of the Spencer Works site was a marsh, and the whole plant had to be built upon sunken foundations which reached down to the bedrock below. To take the weight of the boom cranes in the ore stockyards, special hollow concrete piles are built on the surface and weighted down. The top of the cavity is sealed off and compressed air pumped in. This prevents water entering while the men inside the caisson control the excavation of the soft earth. Each pile is an island in a pool of bubbling mud. This is the effect of the internal air pressure. A man needs a tough constitution on this job. Now we're looking again at the coke ovens. They're under a temporary cover whilst being lined with fire bricks, which must be kept bone dry. The main storage bunker, still to be completed, will hold the coal for charging the coke ovens. Concrete, concrete, and more concrete. How many cubic yards have gone into this structure? An army of quantity surveyors spend all their time wrestling with the staggering figures. Ore and coke will be conveyed to the sinter plant along an overhead conveyor. And that's only part of it. The other half will carry the sintered material to the blast furnaces. Rows of rollers seeming to stretch to the horizon are already installed on some of the conveyors to carry the belting. Only from a helicopter could we see a cooling tower from this angle. The men working on the rim provide a contrast for size. And now we have a better view of number 1 blast furnace, dwarfing the derrick that erected it. It stands by its blast stoves and other attendant structures. After the steel overcoat, the brick underwear. Tons and tons of specialized bricks for the stoves. on the monster itself, dazzling pinpoints of light locate the arc welders at work. The most massive structure on the site, the Steelworks, the housing for the first of the LD converters. The hot mill, represented by acres of roofing. With a little imagination, one can even envisage a game of football on it. There's the wall cladding we saw earlier from the air. Cold mill. The tiny workmen on the roof look as though they're crossing a vast desert. Underneath and supporting the great flat roof is a forest of girders and steel structure. A quarter of an hour later, we descend to terra firma, remembering that this marshland was once anything but firma. After this second aerial survey of the work's progress, the vastness of the project becomes more apparent than ever. For this site, once a marshy piece of farmland, will soon enclose one of the biggest steelworks in Great Britain.